Hey, how are you guys? Good afternoon, and it's your boy Samir again, logging in from a beautiful garden right next to the Chhatarpur metro station. So recently, in fact, a few days back, I went through a book named Political Phrenology. Okay, phrenology is the study of evil. Political Phrenology was a book written by Andrew Lebowski in, I think, during the Nazi era, World War II, I think, Nazi era, when that Holocaust was going on. That is the time when this book was written by this. He was a famous psychologist, and he was also a victim of the Nazi regime, and he had to face a lot of hardship, and he did eventually move to US, but his life was totally turned upside down, and he that book entails, documents why, this kind of things happen, and what are the root causes of formation of such people coming in power, or like Hitler or somebody like that. So this book discusses the functioning of a government which is headed by a psychopath. Okay, so if you look back in history, there have been multiple occasions where extremely cruel people have come in power, and be it you see in North Korea, or from time to time these things happen, and they come in power and do a lot of damage. And also, a lot of people suffer. There is widespread destruction, there is war, there is murder, there is rape, there is every evil that you think. That in this video I'm going to talk about how, after reading this book also, and let me tell you this, I have had a very long and unpleasant experience, more than my fair share of pathological individuals in my life. Okay, how they work, how they function. So I have a lot of personal experience, a lot of practical experience also. When I used to work in software industry, I have 13 years of experience there, and I did face a lot of individuals who are deviant, who are just manipulative, who do not want anything to do with the quality or the product or anything related to, they were just when they go to work, they are just interested in what is in it for them. Okay, so the only thing the psychopath, predatory individual, is concerned about is what is in it for him. So everything revolves around this individual. So what is this individual, right? Normal human beings, when you talk about ordinary individuals living ordinary lives, usually enjoy people getting together, having a good laugh. Maybe people, if I see, or probably you see, a couple who's happy, or children playing, they'll probably enjoy that. You get positive energy feedback from there. So happiness around us pleases us. It also raises our vibration. It also raises our energy level. We feel better. In spirituality, we call it vibration, and it is also true. But these individuals who are labeled as psychopaths are very, very different from what a human being, you would say, the qualities of a human being are. In fact, they look human, but they are anything but human. Okay, they are just the opposite of all humane qualities that humans can identify with. Okay, so a psychopath is a predatory individual who feels no empathy, who feels no conscience, who has unbound by any morals or anything that to do with what is right or what is wrong. All they are concerned about is what is in it for them. If a psychopath was to commit a crime, the only thing that would be stopping him is that can they get away with that. If they see that there is a police officer right next to them standing there, they probably would not do that crime. But if they see somebody who is vulnerable, or a woman, or a lady who's all by herself in the night, they probably would try to take advantage or maybe of the situation if they feel so, right? If they, what drives them, they have different kind of psychopaths have different desires, just like normal people have different desires. Some people are very fond of animals, some people are very fond of kids, some people want to do social work, some people are very particular about money, or they want to make a lot of money. Some people are very worried about success, some people are just artists. These individuals also differ in their characteristics when it comes to desires of what they want and what drives them, what makes them tick. Okay, so first thing that you would notice is that the energy that these individuals emit is very, very repulsive. Okay, it is something that makes you cringe, you feel that there's something wrong with this guy, and I just can't put my finger on that, but there definitely is. There's some kind of a predatory gaze, or some kind of a something which related to, which is, you say, is unholy, is the right word for them about this person when you come in contact with such an individual. The what else do I want? Yes, psychopaths are driven by desires which are contrary to all humane qualities. They like to see people suffer. They derive energy, they derive pleasure from seeing people suffer. They derive satisfaction from toying with their victims. They derive satisfaction by seeing people in pain, people suffering. It has been documented. There is also a famous psychologist from Canada. His name is Robert Hare, and he has done a lot of research on psychopaths. And what he documented is that the driving force for these individuals is that they kind of feel a high. They feel relaxed when there is chaos, there is murder, there is on a lot of suffering. That is when they thrive. So you would imagine that if a person was a psychopath, he would probably put the house on fire, and then they would rush to extinguish the fire and take credit for it and be praised for that. So that kind of things are very, very particular. It is the hallmark of psychopathic individual. What a psychopathic individual would do. These individuals are hardwired to behave in this fashion. Okay, they are born different. You cannot create a normal individual and make him, subject him to any kind of brutality or any kind of hardship or something like that and make him into a psychopath. A psychopath is always born different. Okay? Their functioning of the brain is very, very different. They do not think like normal human beings. They do not even use the parts of the brain which normal human beings do for processing emotions. So if you go to YouTube videos and you start searching them, you will find that there is research that supports this. Okay? Unfortunately, we as normal human beings are not, do not expect such a thing to be present among us in human race. Right? We feel that every human will have some human qualities, right? More or less will have some conscience, will have something which is human about them, some humane qualities. Unfortunately, for these individuals, all they have to do is that they mimic human qualities. They realize at a very early age that they are different, they are completely different, and in fact they are kind of very happy with their state of existence, which normal people would find very pathetic, that they are not able to feel emotions. It is just the opposite of what a normal human being would do, and still these people in fact see human emotions like kindness, empathy, sensitivity, kindness towards animals, giving nature, magnanimity as weaknesses. Okay, as weaknesses that they can exploit. The reason they can exploit these weaknesses is because this kind of individuals are not advertised or are not publicly, acknowledge that they are not neither in the media nor when we grow up as children. Nobody warns us that these kind of individuals exist. In fact, there are different varieties of pathological individuals that live among us, and in terms of psychiatry, they are labeled as cluster B disorders, starting from psychopaths, the most evil, the most cunning, and the worst of the variety of any, the worst of the worst psychopath, right? So what drives these what are the ambitions when a psychopath is born will decide how or what things he would pursue. The desire for control over others, the desire to see people suffer, the desire to manipulate, the desire they get from exploiting people is universally available in almost all these four cluster B disorders. But psychopath is a little different, because there is almost no human qualities when it comes to a predatory individual like a psychopath. So if you are not aware that how these individuals function, what are their driving characteristics, and you happen to be a victim of them, or you are being stalked by one of these individuals, you are in a very dangerous situation. Okay, you are in a very dangerous zone. Okay, you must be able to understand they all have weaknesses. Doesn't matter how predatory they are, doesn't matter how cunning they are, doesn't matter how powerful they are. Okay, they all have weaknesses, but their weaknesses are very different from that of a normal human being. A kind or an empathetic individual would avoid violence. Okay, would avoid violence, would avoid confrontation, right? Psychopaths kind of enjoy that. They are made for that kind of stuff. So they like violence, they like confrontation, they like chaos. Normal individuals would avoid that, but they have different, they do have weaknesses, and they are, those are very different from how normal people would behave. So usually normal individuals do not fear exposure to exposure in the sense that maybe being exposed to public about their wrongdoings, or in fact usually ordinary people do not have a lot to hide. Psychopaths have a huge bag of skeletons in their closet which they need to hide. Okay, so one of the primary fears of a psychopath is exposure, right? And if you are being stalked by a psychopath, right? If you are being stalked, especially we read news in newspapers every day that a poor girl was being stalked for a year, and eventually it went so bad that she committed suicide, or she got raped, or something happened to her that was terrible. So the thing is that when you are facing an adversary, it may not be your choice. It may not be your choice to walk away from it. Okay? It may not be possible for you to walk away from it, but it can still be dealt with. You can still deal with these individuals, and you can also beat them at their game. Okay? But there is one thing that I want to say: complying with the demands of a psychopathic stalker is the worst possible recipe, is the worst possible way of dealing with them. Absolutely no. Absolutely no. Do not comply. Do not give an inch to a psychopathic stalker, or people who are who are of this nature. If you allow them to dictate where you can go, if you can use public transport or not, or if you are what you can do, where you can go, how you behave in public, if you allow them to dictate your life, if you allow them, no matter how powerful they are, no matter how much strength they are, let's just imagine the worst case scenario. The psychopathic stalker that has zeroed on you is probably the king of the country. He's got everything. He's got the Air Force, he's got the army, he's got police personnel, he's got everything, again everything in judiciary, whatever you can say. In fact, when a psychopath is in power, it no longer is a normal government. There is a specific word for that, and that is pathocracy. So pathocracy is the word when a psychopath gains power. But unfortunately, in your case, if I imagine the worst case scenario, you are being stalked by someone who's got access to all centers of power. Okay, what do you do in that scenario? You are being followed, you are being harassed, abused, you are being teased. What you should do in this scenario? Okay, let me cut this short on this note. I'll just shoot another video for this one. So, how to defeat a psychopath. Complying with the demands of a psychopathic stalker is the worst possible decision you will make in your life. Be assured that in the future it is going to get only worse. Okay, it will get worse. You will not be able to use private transport. You will not be able to step out of the house. Okay, when a psychopathic stalker has honed on you, is trying to victimize you, they don't do it alone. They will have a huge gang behind you, and especially if that person is powerful, they'll have a huge gang following you. Okay, if the number of the people that are doing this to you are 20, and you do nothing about that except complying with their demands just to survive and hoping that something better would come out of it, the number of people stalking you in the next week will be 40 and 50 and 100, and it will be unmanageable. You will not be able to step out of your house, go and get grocery, or maybe just it will be a traumatic experience if you comply with the demands of a psychopath, right? If you comply with illegal activities which they do in order to prevent you from exercising or your right to life, right? I have read a story, and let me continue this video on that note. There was a woman who was kidnapped by a couple, or I think a guy in United States, she was a young teenager, and unfortunately she was kidnapped and police could not trace her. She was kept as a sex slave. She was abused, she was tortured for years, and it reached a point, after so much trauma and so much hardship, it reached a point that she was broken. She was completely broken, and that is what victim programming what victim programming is. She was so broken that after a while, this guy who had kidnapped her and who had abused her allowed her to go free and asked her to sign a contract that this girl will return by 8 p.m. in the evening, otherwise such and such things will happen to her. And because she was so traumatized, because she was so harmed, and because she was so hopeless, she came back to the same person. She was completely free. She would have gone to the police, she could have gone to her parents, she could have called her friends or somewhere, or she could have just gone to a restaurant and shout about what was happening. She returned to her abuser just because she had signed a piece of paper that said that such and such things will happen to her if she did not return by 8 p.m. That is the kind of control they can have over you if you start complying with their illegal behavior. Okay, never ever do that. Doesn't matter what is at stake, what you are trying to achieve, whoever you may be, why is it happening. Regardless of that, do not allow other people, do not allow stalkers to dictate what you can do in your life. Okay, it is a recipe for disaster, and it will get worse with time, to the extent that you may not be able to live your life. Be assured on that note. So in the next video I'm going to discuss how to disable these individuals. Okay, how to disable these individuals, how to deal with these individuals. So there will be a couple of videos on these series, and I have been thinking about making them. They will be a little bit maybe on the dark side, but are very important, are very useful, and all children, I mean all people who have qualities of empathy and kindness, should be aware that these individuals exist, what tactics they use, how they victimize their prey on other people, and how they manipulate the system to work in their favor. So the video series that is coming up, there will be a series of videos on this topic. Do watch it, and do these videos will be maybe a little longer than the normal videos I shoot, but do watch it and see, like, you will benefit a lot from gaining insights into the behavior of the mind of a psychopath and how they function. If you are, God forbid, if you have them as an adversary, you must be able to analyze their behavior and decide what they actually want and how to counter that, how to disarm them. Doesn't matter how powerful they are, how much strength they have. Tricks intelligence, tricks, and logical analysis will trump brute strength. Trust me. So on that note, I close this video and see you in the next video. So watch that.